Hannah Melder, welcome to the first word. I'm so glad we've connected, and I'm sorry for sending you Google invites that were inviting you to the podcast at ridiculous hours. I still haven't nailed the Google invite, and it is the most basic way to organize, but I'm still a few steps behind, so you're very patient.
Thank you, Tori. I am so excited to be here. And I would have gotten up for you at like 6 a.m., like at whatever time you
I know
sent me.
you were like, I'll probably be better a bit later, but I'll absolutely be there at 6 if that's when you want to record the podcast. I was like,
Yeah,
that's great. I
slow in the
won't be there
morning.
at 6.
I'm slow in the morning. It takes me a long time to get going.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Me too. Okay, so today we're going to have a chat about all things women, body confidence, and I guess just like the relationships we have with our own selves, whether that be how we look, whether that be libido, whether that be our energy and our connections to people, women, whatever it is. So let's start off by, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes. So I'm Hannah Melder. I'm a body empowerment coach and I'm also a spin instructor. And kind of how I got into this body empowerment journey, like if you spoke to me in school, I don't think I would have ever thought I would have been here. I really had an awful relationship with my body. I hated my body. I started hating it from such a young age. And, I grew up probably similar to you when it was like size 6. Models were size 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I got curves, I got boobs, I was bigger than the other girls. So I had a lot of pain around my body. And I continued to dance when I left school, and it ended up becoming a career. I became a kizomba instructor, which is an African dance. And I got to teach around Australia, in Perth, around Australia and overseas. And I then kind of came into like women's empowerment. But what happened first was like through kizomba, I found this new connection to my body, and the way that women move in kizomba, it's really grounded. It's really connecting to your feminine, to a presence. Your body is really celebrated, but I also saw my kind of body celebrated in a way I'd never really seen before, especially like when I was a kid, I was like, I want to be a backup dancer for J-Lo. That's not what happened, but it's almost better. Like I became a professional dancer, but not in the way that I thought. But I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, I can't be a professional dancer because my body isn't that way. It's not that skinny shape. So, I had this amazing career in the street dance industry. And I found this sense of like, oh, my body is okay. And I began to become present with it. And then I started teaching like female only classes, and I created this project called the Ginger Goddess series, a dance method, which kind of brought me into body empowerment. And, these women would come of all ages. Everyone's not coming to dance or to be good at dance. People are coming to, their mums. They don't feel sexy anymore. Their body has changed. Their body doesn't look like how it looked in their 20s. They want to feel confident. They want to like feel different to how they're feeling. So everyone was coming. I had all ages. I had from like 22 to like, I think 65. Like she's in her 70s now. And, what we would do is it all just happened quite organically. I was like, let's stretch in the mirror to Beyonce and George Michael and do a power pose and say an affirmation. Let's do, we did this movement that was really grounding and feminine. And, I just did meditations at the end of class. And then what would happen is these women would go out more confident. They would feel different about their body. And it wasn't like we weren't changing our bodies. We were loving and accepting our body as they are right now. And it was all shapes and sizes. It was all ages. And then, and the more I taught that, the more like I was lucky enough to receive the benefits. And then, later down the track, I studied life coaching because I wanted to understand mindset more. And I guess this is a really long answer, but then I guess now specifically into body empowerment coaching, because I bring in what I learned from Ginger Goddess, all the movement stuff, how to change the mind through the body, but then also how to support women with their mindset and bringing those two together to kind of create like a body empowerment coaching like service world. And it's something I'm really passionate about in sharing, just from my own pain, and then just really sharing what I've been learning over the last, especially the last 7 years. So that's a long time.
It's amazing. Just like the relationship women have with their bodies is the best and the worst relationship in the world, because we are so hard on ourselves. And I used to work in the modeling industry as a booker, and the hardest thing, I was on the men's side, thank God, because the hardest thing I used to hear is, especially the younger girls who were aspiring to be the New York model on the runway, and they would get shut down by every agency because they weren't, because they had hips. And I remember agents saying, and they'd drop weight, trying. And agents had to say, the managers had to say, and it sounds really harsh and I hope it's not said anymore, but you cannot change the shape of your body. The width of your hips is the width of your hips. You cannot shave that down. And it used to make me feel so upset, thinking that it's like if you wanted to be a basketballer and someone said, sorry, you're too short. It was the end of their career aspirations because their body wasn't right. And that just was because they were so young, and it's not just the modeling industry, it's people in general, but it is such a tough, I don't know, like we all want to be, I don't know what we all want to be, but we all want to be better than what we are or different. And you get to a stage, unless we get to a stage like you got to a stage, and I think I finally got to a stage after I've had babies that I'm like, oh, this is my body and it's bloody good. And I'm just going to treat my body with utter kindness, because it's your body is your world, your body is your temple, as they say, but it is.
Yeah, it really is. And what I like to share with women is, I love what you said about our body is like, it's like this really hard relationship. And I look at it like that. It's like, this is the longest relationship you will have in your life is with your body. So it's like, how are you going to nurture that relationship? Because you only got one body. And, it is your vessel that carries you for your whole life. And it's so important to look at it as a relationship that you need to tend to and look after, because we are literally with our body for our whole life.
Because now I feel like we're getting better, like the world is getting more progressive and more accepting of body types. And hopefully that means that individuals are getting more accepting of their own bodies. But there is still those comments around, if someone says, like if I saw you in the street and I went up to you and I might say, oh, you look so great, have you lost weight? Or if I used to get this comment a lot after my first baby, and it was lovely, I think, but people would say, oh, it doesn't even look like you've had a baby. And, even when I remember a few people said when I was a teenager, like my dad said, oh my God, grinded my gears, but he goes, oh, you look a lot fuller in the face. You look much healthier. And those comments all come with such good intentions, but they are very divisive, triggering comments to women, maybe men as well, probably men as well, but to women, because you just never, ever know what the relationship that particular woman has with her body at that point in time. So if I was saying to you, you look great, have you lost weight? You could be in a position or going through something where you are being really unkind to your body to drop weight. Something, having just had a baby and having comments like, oh, you don't even look like you've had a baby. I have to admit, at the time, you're like, oh, great. But it's not a productive, healthy comment to make, because the way those comments sit, I think, in the female mind is in a really complex place. So in terms of those comments, I mean, despite the fact that they're said with good intention, how do you think we should be changing the way we are speaking to women and, giving them compliments? Because everyone loves a compliment. We all mean so well, but they can be tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, yes, sometimes they can be said with good intention, but a lot of the time it's that person's projection onto you.
Mm.
And for me, I really think that saying, oh my gosh, like you look great, you've lost weight, I don't think that should be a compliment. That's not a compliment. I don't think. I think because, like you said, you don't know what the other person is going through. So for me, especially maybe in my early 20s when I was in school, I would have lived for someone to say, oh my gosh, you look so good, you've lost weight. Or, we used to love hearing, because we're from that time, oh my God, you look so skinny. And,
Yeah.
we wanted to hear that. But now it's like, if I look back really from my mid 20s to now, if I look skinny or I've lost weight, I've not been well. I've either not been well mentally, I've either had like wild vertigo, which I had, which made me get super skinny. I've gone through the worst breakup of my life. Like, I am not okay.
Mm.
Even with, I have some clients who were they're really slim. And, if someone talks about, oh my God, you've got such skinny legs, like it literally brings them back to high school being bullied for how skinny their legs were. So
Mm.
we don't know someone's experience. If someone is trying to lose weight and you say that, amazing. But I think what the compliment should be is like, you are looking so well. You look so healthy. You look
Mm.
so strong. You're looking fit. Like, this should be the kind of compliment, because like, I don't think skinny can be such a loaded word for a lot
Mm.
of people. So I don't think it is a word. And losing weight, we don't know what we don't know what someone's going through with their body.
Mm.
So for me, I think it's a compliment that was cool back in the day, but it doesn't work anymore.
Mm.
We need to be more mindful of what people are going through and what's happening with their body, because women's bodies will change so much over their life depending on so many different things. So yeah, that's kind of my thought on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, past.
It's women, the rate of change of women's bodies is so drastic. Obviously, the big one is puberty, and when you do develop curves, then when you fall pregnant, then you have your baby. But there is about 4 days in a month, and I'm in that period now, pardon the pun, where I guarantee my jeans do not fit. I wore
Yeah.
them yesterday and they were unbuttoned the whole day. And I hate to admit, but it does make you feel shitty because you're like, I can't do my pants up. But then I always say, like, I can't do my pants up because I have my period, which means X, Y, and Z. It's got nothing to do with me. However, it's a great sign because, obviously my period is here, everything's working well. So it's actually a big tick. But that's just 1 month. I've got 4 pairs of jeans in there that I love that I simply cannot wear, and I still go to put them on. And I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Just chuck on a pair of pants that fit, feel good, and let your body just have a break while you've got your period and you're feeling pretty shitty. Just try and help yourself out. But that is a full conversation you have to have. And it's not just teens. I'm 34. I'm a mum of 2. Like, it's got nothing to do with where you're at in your life cycle. It's just the everyday pressure of a woman. It is always there. And if you don't have that kind of dialogue going in your head, you're honestly the luckiest person in the world. But I don't believe there is many of those women. I think we're also trained to think always about our bodies. So I'm so curious to hear, because I've got 2 little boys. So in my household, we've had to put a pretty strict, I'm not going to say ban, but we've tried to cancel the word fat, because of obviously it's, got a lot of negative connotations. And when I was pregnant with my second baby boy, my toddler, actually, it was when he was born, we used to laugh and say, oh, he's the little fatso. And then that word kind of was repeated by him in contexts that weren't appropriate. So they now know that fat is a bad word, but it's tricky because sometimes we'll be reading a book like The Hungry Caterpillar and the word fat is used. And my little 4-year-old is like, no, we cannot use that word. And it's hard because I know the generations above going, oh, don't be ridiculous. It's just a word. They have to learn how to use it. But does the word fat have a place in society anymore, or what can we redefine it? What are we doing with this word fat? Because I find it really tricky.
This is this is really good, and I think it's quite complex, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because there is a huge conversation about like women who would say they are fat reclaim that, like, I'm fat and I own it and it's fabulous. And I think they've abbreviated to like, it's like PHAT, and it's like, you know, you want to be fat and it's like sexy and it's basically you're fabulous. But I think it's all about that. I think it's all about the intention behind it. You know, our words are so powerful and they carry so much meaning. But really, like, what is the intention? Like, and if, you know, you're saying it about your body with like a loving way that you're reclaiming, then yeah. But I think it's we're describing maybe someone else. And I hear like older people in my life do it, like, oh, the fat one. And I just want to die because I'm like, that shouldn't be a way we describe people. You know, like, I don't know, the brunette, you know, but we are in a time where words are so complicated. You know, everything is loaded, every word is being cancelled. So I think it's really behind, you know, the intention behind the word and, you know, what the context is, but I don't really have a right answer. And I think we're still so far from that.
I think
there's there's other ways to describe it, but I think it's great that you're teaching your kids that, you know.
I think there's such a generational shift going on because there are so many words, terms, phrases that are cancelled, so to speak, or now, you know, deemed politically incorrect. And it can be really hard. Like I always say to my mum, I feel like I'm such a nag because there's a lot that you say that I'm like, can't say that, can't say that. And I don't do it to be like prudent or annoying or to shelter them so much that they don't have a true understanding of the word. But you only have to look at like our generation to see that mental health never used to get as much support as it does today because it wasn't exposed. So while we think, oh, you know, we grew up and we were fine, we only have to look to people to know that, well, everyone probably wasn't fine. They just didn't talk about it. So now we have the luxury of being able to voice it. But we do really have to make fundamental shifts from the earliest days, especially in terms of, you know, the rate of sexual assault and the way, you know, just derogatory comments and misogyny. It's just so outrageously inflamed at the moment that the only thing we can do, I think, in households and at this level is really make sure that we're focusing on the little ones to make sure we can kind of direct them in the right way. But it is tiring, I think, for everyone, regardless if you have kids, to constantly be like, can I say that? Did that offend that person? It's a really exhausting time, but I think it's worth it in the long run. But it's really complex. And like you say, there isn't necessarily an answer. And I was going to now move on to words such as slim, skinny, and lean, and ask, should these words still be replaced with you look well, you look fit, you look so strong, you look really well slept? Something else? Like, are those words, do they have a place? Should they have a place?
I think,
because if a doctor ever says, you know, if we're in a telehealth and they ask like, oh, what's your body frame, or in some kind of context, I'll say I'm tall and lean. That's how I'll say, and it's not to say that's just how I'll describe my frame because that is my frame.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It's like also it's like all the words have a meaning within context, but when they're removed from that context, they can be really dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think, you know, when you are maybe in the doctor's office, yes, use that. And for me, like, I refuse to weigh myself. Like, I don't do that anymore because I was obsessed with the scale. But, you know,
absolutely. Got to get away.
I kind of will try not to look at the number because I'm like, that used to be my kryptonite. That used to, you know, undo me. And every Monday I would weigh myself. And if I hadn't lost weight, I would spiral and I would just be so mean and cruel to myself. Or if I lost like 0.5 of a kilo, I'd be like, I'm amazing. I deserve good things. I'm a good human. So, you know, it's like in a medical context, I don't, you know, we probably will have to keep these words. But I think you know, in terms of talking to our friends and our kids and our parents, like, you know, we look well, you look healthy, you look rested, you've got a glow, you know, you look fit, you look strong.
Mm.
I think that is where we need to move towards, because I think so many of us like look at our self-worth and our beauty if we are skinny or slim or whatever. Or some women, it's like, I need to look thick, I need to have a snatched waist, a big ass, you know, big boobs, like whatever it is. I think like removing that and like looking at, you look well, you look happy, you look healthy, I think that is really where we need to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And it's just going back to like pressure on women, because it's such a spoken about topic, but it'll never not be such a big topic until I think advertising and marketing is completely changed, which will never happen. But we
Yeah.
do know that, you know, I think a big concept now is people talk about like the everything shower. When you wash your hair, shave your legs, shave under your arms, so, you know, like exfoliate, and then you come out and you're like feeling $1,000,000. But it's kind of the same, and I get that because those showers are like amazing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same now, where I feel like we all feel dowdy, ugly, just grotty if we haven't had our eyebrows done, gone to the hairdresser, shaved or waxed, had all these things done. And all those things are very expensive. B, they cost, that time-wise, they're costing us a lot of time. And only the list of things to do only seems to be getting, you know, even longer. So, I mean, to be at home with your hair up, no bra on, fresh face, just you, I feel like sometimes if I'm having, you know, a day where, like an ugly day where you're just feeling not only physically ugly, just you're not like, you don't feel like yourself. I feel like sometimes the most helpful thing to do is to have a shower, strip off, put on something that is comfortable, and just feel without the pressure of all of the things. So just go right back to basics. But, you know, how do we, from a positivity in the way I think we talk to ourselves, how do we retrain our brains to think that we are still beautiful, and we're still, you know, we're still so beautiful, and we're still so amazing despite the fact we are, you know, regardless of tapping into all of those things? Because it is much easier to say than do.
Absolutely. And you know, there is so much pressure now, all the things we can do, especially like if you think about our eyebrows, like we don't just get them waxed anymore. We have to get them laminated and permed, and then like a special serum, and it's like, these are eyebrows. Like, you know, and you know, like when, you know, women of our age, I mean, my friends started to do it late 20s, like the Botox thing. Like, I'm like, God, is like, I find myself like, oh, everyone's doing that around me. Like, is it time that I do that?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, it is really working on feeling good with like stripped back. And you be able to look in yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm good with you. Like,
Yeah.
you look good, and I love you no matter what.
Yeah.
Which is hard. It takes, you know, it's practice. Often we need support with that, whether it's mirror work, whether it's a coach, whether it's meditation, whether it's EFT tapping. Like, we need support to get there. But the more we can embrace that stripped back, and like you said, you know, maybe you have like, often a shower will cure a lot of things.
So
Like,
much.
it literally happened to me the other day. I felt like I was in a spiral. I was really hard on myself about something that didn't go the way I expected. And I literally had a shower. I washed my hair. I put on my serum. I put on like some glowy, shimmery face moisturizer. I was like, okay, I'm good now. Like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But that is more the action of, I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah. I love that.
You know, it's that it's affirming to yourself, like, I love you. I'm taking care of you. And, you know, again, with the makeup and the eyebrows and the hair, what is your intention? What is fueling you? Is it because you're like, oh shit, everyone's doing the Botox? Oh, I can see a line. Oh, I don't look like that filter. Like, what is the fuel that's making you do that? for me, I make my hair blonde because my identity is like blondes have more fun. Like I literally believe I am myself if my hair is blonde.
Yeah, makes you feel great.
You know,
Yeah.
I put on red lipstick because I'm like, I'm so fucking powerful when I wear red.
Yeah.
I put on gold jewelry. I'm like, this is the jewelry of a goddess. Like for me, everything I do is very intentional. And sometimes I'll check myself, like, is this for the male gaze? Is this for something else? You know, why do I feel like I want to do that? So I think it's, you know, honoring yourself and taking those loving steps and really working towards loving yourself and being good with yourself, stripped back in the mirror.
Yeah.
Stare at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. It might feel really awful or uncomfortable, but you do it until you believe it. And, you know, what is your intention? Like, are you just following trends? Is everybody doing it? Is it because, you know, you like, you know, I think it's always what is the intention behind what you're doing, and just having more intention in everything you do, the way you do your hair, what you put on your face, what you put on your body, fabrics, everything, like having what is it an action of self-love or self-loathing? What is behind it? I think it's always going deeper.
I had an amazing plastic surgeon on to talk about plastic surgery and women. And it's such a tricky one because I feel as though if someone gets their body altered in any way, their boobs, their lips, whatever it is, if it makes them feel great, amazing. Like no judgment. There should never be judgment there. And just like you said, you know, you dye your hair blonde because you feel like fun and frivolous. You put on red lipstick because you feel powerful. I think it's so important to ask yourself exactly like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I feel like I need to look a certain way to fit in? Or am I doing this because I know that when my body is this way, I am my best, most energized, most natural self? So I think there's no shame in doing all of the things. Like I do all the things, but it's your personality and, you know, who you are should never be minimized if you don't do those things. It doesn't matter either way. But it's still like it's tricky, but I feel like a really hard test for some people, and certainly myself, depending on what day of the week it is, depending on what I've got on, is to like put on clothes, take off all my makeup, put my hair up, leave it out, whatever else, but just go out fresh face, like go into a shopping center, a busy place, and just see that I guarantee no one is going to look at you and think, oh my God,
Like,
you know? But in your mind, you're like, I can't possibly leave the house looking like this. But what I've learned, and it is since having kids, I don't have the time to necessarily, like some days I go out and I haven't even looked in the mirror. But what I'm finding is that nothing bad happens because of that. Sometimes I feel a little bit shitty, but usually that's manageable, you know. But it's such a hard one at the ripe old age of 34. I'm still thinking like, oh, wow, I can go out without makeup. Like I've just learned that lesson. But again, like all of those things, they're not easy because we are so programmed not by parents, but just by society in the world in general to, look a certain way or feel like we are only, I don't know, like attractive if we do X, Y, and Z. So it's a big undoing, an unlearning process, but it's very freeing if you tap in and allow yourself to see how that goes.
I agree. Like, and you know, the world doesn't stop. Like, you know what I mean? There's not a parade. Like, she's not got makeup on. Like, it's not at all this moment that we think it's going to be. And you're exactly right. It is so freeing, but it is this constant like battle, I feel, you know, and it's like, well, what can I strip back next or free myself? Like for me, I had curly hair growing up, right? And I hated it, and I would straighten it. And you know, back in the day, my cousins would iron it with like an ironing board. Like,
oh my God, yes, I remember the iron.
Yeah, and then in high school, like I would straighten it, and you know, I then worked at a hair salon, so my hair was every color you can imagine. It was so ruined. And then I think I was 23. I was in Croatia in Europe, and I just let my hair dry naturally, and I'd really taken a break from color, and my curls were there. And I was like, oh my God, like I have this curly hair, and what if I reclaimed this and now, like, yeah, I love going to hairdresser and getting it blow dried, but most of the time I wear my hair curly, and it's this reminder of this like reclamation. Like, I reclaimed my hair. I let my hair be natural. Like, yes, I make it blonde, but you know, that's something else. But it's like, it's okay that my hair is, and you know, it's about bracing who I am. I have naturally curly hair. Like, I don't have beautiful, straight, shiny hair. My hair is wild. And it's like, how can we embrace parts of us and reclaim something? Like, that was, you know, I hated that and I hid that for so long. And now it's like, I wear it and I'm like, this is so fun. Like, this is me. So it's all these little things, but it's a continuous journey, whether it's the hair, whether it's the makeup. You know, it's this, it's constant, like it doesn't end. And, you know, with social media, you know, we often compare our lives because, yes, it is the highlight reel and we do know this, but sometimes we get swept up in someone's beauty routine, or like they look that good to get their matcha and it's all perfect and it's curated, but it's like, that's not reality.
Totally.
But we have to keep reminding ourselves that it's not, you know, sometimes we go on that spiral of comparison.
The doom scrolling.
My life doesn't look like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doom scrolling. It is such a, I think if you're having a shitty day, the first thing to do, just put your phone away. I have this shocking habit. I'm getting better at it now. But if I have a really shitty day, I feel like if I buy a new top or if I buy a new jumper, I'm going to feel great. Like, I'm going to feel great. And only now in a financial crisis, like a literally global doomsday, I'm like, okay, that is not available to me anymore. So when I'm having a shitty day, I can't just have the new jumper, but I have to find something else. And I feel like just changing that little chat that you have with yourself. I had the same thing with hair. I had red hair, and then I hated it. And then Mum was like, oh, well, if you hate it so much when you're 16, you can dye it, thinking I'd get over it. I was every shade of blonde for like 15 years. And then I had a little boy and he was a redhead. And I was like, I'm going to go back red. Like, here's my son. We're going to do it together. And ever since then, when you're ready, I think, when you're in a good mind frame, now I look back and I don't regret being blonde. I love that time of my life and I'll probably do it again sometime. But now I'm like, I love that, like, the red hair is me naturally, and it takes a lot of pressure off. Like, it's less upkeep. I feel like I don't have to be as tan. You know, when you're blonde, you like want to be as tan. Now I'm like, I'm allowed to be really pale because I'm a redhead. That is that is mine. I'm going to reclaim that aspect. So it's, you know, when you're ready and when you feel in the right, because let's be honest, when you're having a shitty day, it's probably not the time. You got to make sure you're feeling really good in your bones to be like, okay, what's going to make me feel really good right now? And it's funny, like, ever since I've stopped the retail therapy thing, because it's very therapeutic for a moment in time.
Yes.
It's amazing what I replace it with. And I've replaced it with the most boring thing ever, but it's to go outside. So it's like, as soon as I'm ready to add to cart, I just go outside and I look at something and all of a sudden I get hit with, I don't know, like a rush of perspective. Like, I'll look at the grass and be like, oh, it's really green today. And then I all of a sudden think, wow, the world is so much bigger than that jumper I was just about to buy. You know, sometimes I do buy the jumper, like, of course, but other times, yeah, it is quite amazing how if you just move into a new environment, you can bypass that pull, the temptation.
You know, what you're doing there is like you're changing your state. You're like glued in this one position on this thing. And like, I'm the same. Like, I love online shopping. Like, I've banned myself for the last month. I've basically put myself on a ban. And yeah, it's just like, what is that? What could break that state? And you go outside, like, as well, it's physically moving your body to make it different, you know? And I'm going to try that now. I'm going to go outside.
Just
because it's like, it's so, we all have these kind of coping mechanisms to get through our day. You know, whether it's doom scrolling or online shopping, but how can we break that and take in something else, like the grass? And be like, oh, maybe life's okay. Maybe I don't need another jumper, you know?
Totally. And it's so funny with the retail aspect and that, you know, want to, you know, like consumerism is just at an all-time high. But I feel like a really beautiful thing to put in your mind is you might feel really empowered to have that gorgeous dress. You'll probably feel even more empowered to have money in your bank, especially as a woman. Like, if you let that money grow, that, like, there is nothing better than feeling like you've got savings and nothing to spend it on, but you've just got it there in case. And I tell myself that all the time, because I always think, I'm like, you think that jumper or you think that dress is so beautiful. Next week there's going to be something even more beautiful. Like, when's it going to end? So just stop, like, see the money bank up, and then there's going to be a time in your life when a friend's like, let's go here, and you've got the money to do it. And that's, I think, especially for women, is so liberating and so powerful to have the financial backing and to know that you earned it and it's yours and you're proud of it. It's a big one. Yeah, it's hard though. Like, retail therapy. Yeah, it's called therapy for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really is a short-term joy, but like you said, you have that money, and then you know, your friend's like, let's have a spa day, or let's go to Bali, or and you're like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And that connection, that, you know, that presence, that actual spending of your time is going to bring you that much more joy in the long term.
So, switching gear, women and their libido and the way that they feel confident in themselves, because I've spoken to a sexologist on the potty before, and it was just like, for anyone who hasn't listened, it was a really expansive conversation talking about sex from many different points of view, but mainly I think at the moment everyone is just so time poor and tired that everyone worries about their libido in comparison to the male libido, because we all know that usually it's less, and it's dependent on that time of month. It's dependent on where you're at, you know, with your cycle or your fertility plans or your family planning, whatever else. But if women are feeling as though they are wanting to increase their libido for themselves or wanting to feel better or sexier, you know, in their bodies, where do you come, what's your angle on this sort of subject in terms of women who want to feel sexier or they want their sex drive to grow, but they're just not feeling that crash hot in their skin?
I love this question. You know, it's like about seducing yourself, being your own fantasy. You know, so often we put it on the other person. Like, well, he's not turning me on. He's not, you know, he's not practicing my love languages. He's not doing the foreplay. And, you know, but it's like, what if you gave that to yourself before the date? What if you, like, seduced yourself? You got in touch with your body. You got to know your body and you made it a practice, you know, and then them often can be a bonus. Like, you know, we put so much on all these external things, but really we need to look internally. So something like, there's so many things we can do, and it's about finding what works for us. Like, for me, what I used to do all the time, I really wanted to work on, and I used to teach this for quite a long time. I used to do a lot in feminine embodiment. Because I was super masculine. And it was, so many of us are, you know, we run households, we run businesses. So much of the working day is in the masculine. So how can we move into the feminine? And, you know, we want to think about it. The feminine is from the shoulders down. The masculine is from the shoulders up, like the head, right? But from the body, we move into the feminine. So, you know, kind of having rituals for ourselves, whether it's a date with our partner, or we just want to move out of our work day, or we want to feel sexier. You know, it's having that extra long shower. Maybe you buy a special shower gel that's like your sexy turn on shower gel. It's all about infusing intention and ritual into it. Then, you know, you put on a luxurious body oil, you have some sexy music playing, music that makes you feel fucking hot and alive and turned on. And, you know, put fabric on, like, get ready, like, in a sec, put some lace on, like, do yourself a favor and, like, put something on that makes you feel sexy. Don't put on your fucking tracksuit to get ready. It's not gonna make, like, you know, we love
it's not gonna bring the vibes.
It's not gonna turn you on wearing your tracksuit. You know, it's like, can you put on some lace? Or even, like, if it's a cozy robe, could you wear some lace underneath? Or something silky? Like, it's like adorning your body with something that feels really good. You know, maybe you can do a little meditation, or you dance in, like, to the mirror if you're feeling brave, or if you're not there, turn the light off, dance, touch, like, caress your body. Like, I do this a lot with clients and in dancing, like where we caress the body and, you know, it's seducing ourselves. It's not like going to that sexual place already, but like giving yourself that touch. You know, what does it feel like to touch your body with your fingertips? Now with more pressure, like different parts, like where feels good for you, getting to know what turns you on, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel alive. I always had that as like a pre-date ritual. Like I would just almost seduce myself. So when I went into the date, I was already feeling myself. I was turned on. I was like, I'm delicious. Like no matter what the outcome is with you, because you know, maybe they're tired, but you're like, hey, I
Yeah.
almost got myself off because I'm looking and feeling so good. I took that time for myself. Yes, if you're a mum, you probably don't have as much time, but maybe you could like give yourself 5 minutes and like you put on a sexy song and maybe you like put some body oil on or like you do a little meditation. Like I think it's all about you giving it to yourself and
Yeah.
not worrying so much about the external, you know?
I love that. And I've certainly heard a lot of women and friends that they love to buy and indulge in lingerie, not for sex, could be, or for their partner, but because the way they feel when they wear it. And I think that is so nice because I often used to be like, whoa, you spend so much money on everyday underwear, and it's got nothing to do with that. It's the way that you feel. And then I adopted it and I was like, there's something so you like what you're saying. If you feel like, even if a fabric makes you feel better, more comfortable, more sexy, if you feel like it makes you appreciate the way your body looks more, like the smallest of things, like playing music, perfume, all that kind of stuff. But I love that idea of seducing yourself before, like, so you already have the outcome, you are
Mm,
controlling the outcome, which is such, everyone, I think that's the biggest thing is in the dating, the sex world, you feel like you lose control, but you have so
mm,
much control, especially,
yeah. Like
well,
don't
men
give
and
the
women.
power
Everyone's got,
away.
yeah,
Don't give the power away. Like, you know, reclaim, give that to yourself. Everything else is like the bonus.
yeah. I love that mentality. It's so funny how quick it can become when life gets busy for people to forget. And then,
Mm,
like, we hear stories, or you go through a lull yourself, and you're thinking, you know, yeah, you're potentially blaming the other person, but I feel like everyone's accountable for what they're getting out of that sexy time, whether it's with your partner or by yourself. Like, you are also accountable for how you feel at that point. At that point, if you are feeling all the right feels, then you can also do that for yourself if you feel like the other party's neglected. I mean, have the
mm,
communication as well, but
yes.
yeah, it's crazy how quick it is for us to, us to think that we're only going to be sexy or beautiful if we get that validation from the other side, whether that be a man or a woman. But it's got really nothing to
Yeah,
do with
exactly.
that. That's the bonus, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's giving it to yourself first and having that power and that connection to your body. And
Yeah.
also, it can also be very energizing. Like, yes, we're so tired, but if you connect to that pleasure and your body, you'll feel more energized.
Mm,
You have more to give because you're giving back to yourself. You know, you're filling back your cup.
mm.
So, you know,
It's
it's
like,
often illusion. I'm tired, but you're not giving back to yourself. You're not giving yourself that pleasure.
totally. It's like exercise. Sometimes you're like, I am so
Mm,
tired, I can't possibly go. But you go because you start to create momentum, and like you come out with more energy, same kind of thing. Like I think you've got
exactly.
to put, yeah, well, you've just got to trust the process, like especially with exercise.
Absolutely.
So if we move back, because we've touched on social media a little bit, but in
Mm,
particular, filters, because
mm,
I feel I'm a bit behind in filters because I know that obviously there's the lights that can make you look completely different. But the
mm.
filters that I have yet to understand why people use them is when they change the shape of their nose, their hips, their
Yeah.
boobs. And I don't understand. I do understand it because they feel better in the photo. But what I don't understand is that it's not real. Like
Mm,
people's attachment to these facades when it's to do with themselves is a tricky one to get my head around. But for anyone who is scared about posting a photo unless they make their nose different, their lips bigger, their boobs bigger. Like, what is your advice here? Because I don't understand it, but I completely appreciate why people think that they need to do it or why they feel compelled to do it. But yeah.
It's such a tricky one. Like I love a little bit of smoothing. Love
Yeah.
it. Some days I look tired, but I don't want to change I don't want to alter really.
Yeah. Totally.
And also some people really get they get really reliant and attached to that, but it's like that's not reality. We don't look like that. And I used to be guilty of retouching my photos. Absolutely. Back in the day, I would smooth things. I would even change my body. And it really, if you think about it, kind of prolonged the pain and my healing.
Oh, I
Because,
can 100%.
I posted a photo and I loved myself because I literally altered myself. But then I was like, I don't look like that. That's not actually how I look. Like I want to be okay. And now, especially in the last photo shoot I did this recent brand shoot, and I in my older photos I would retouch, and this one it's like I'm not. But I also have come to a place where I don't need to. But I think, maybe if you have fun with a filter and you can post without it, whatever. But I think it's, that being attached and like that false reality, and it is holding back the healing. Again, it's all how you use it. It's all your intention behind it. But it is a scary time, and some filters look really real. And the whole conversation of like, as well, like when you think of the Kardashians, like they deny they've had plastic surgery, but they've changed their body. But I think it's just
I did not know that. Do they deny it?
Yeah, they deny that they did, but they have. But it's like, whatever you decide to do, own it.
Yeah, totally.
Like for me, like I own up to sometimes using a filter. Like I don't care. I like it.
Absolutely. I think all of the photos I post on Instagram have some kind of filter to create that like unified aesthetic. And I appreciate that because, and in like very simple terms, I feel like it makes the visual stronger, better, whatever it is. Not necessarily about the person, but the aesthetic of the photo. Yeah. But I feel like with the altering how you look and the process, the elongating healing is also like, if you are to, like, let's say you're single and you're altering your body and then you're going on the date. I could only imagine the anxiety would be sky high because the whole time you're going to be like, is he going to notice? Is she going to notice?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It would just be so stressful. It's like it would be so stressful. And even like back in the day, you used to hear about girls who would like wake up before their partner and like quickly pop on some makeup.
Oh,
I'm like, I do get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it. But it's kind of like now, like if I come from a pragmatic point of view, which I often do, I'm like, if you end up with this guy, if he's your dream guy, then he will see you one day without makeup. And I'm sure he'll still think you're absolutely beautiful if he's the right guy for you. She's the right woman for you. Like, we're just all so afraid, aren't we? I think it all comes from a gigantic place of fear of not being good enough in the eyes of whoever we think we need the validation from, whether that be a friend, a partner. It's a lot.
Exactly. And again, it's that seeking outside of ourselves. Something that I love to think about. And, this could be with like, waking up next to that guy or whoever that person you're dating. You're like, okay, I've got to put on the lip gloss and do some skincare and zhuzh the hair and da-da-da-da-da. But really you're blocking authenticity and truth and honesty and that, that wholeness and worthiness within you. And really, if that ever repels someone, that's a good thing because that person is not for you. The more that we are authentic and, the right people will come to us. And if we repel people or they don't like it, it is a fucking blessing. You do not want them anywhere near you. They're not your people.
I love that perspective. Yeah. And it's so right.
We
Yeah.
cannot, you know, so it's like the more that we embrace, you know, the curly hair, the red hair, like the right people will love that. And if they're repelled
Mm,
by it, like, God, it's fine. Like, they're not your people. And we
mm.
don't need to take that as well so personally. It's fine. It's their thing. It's got, you know, it's often nothing to do with us.
I don't know if it's like, I do feel like as you get older with every year, you get more settled into your body and your, like, who you are, and you become more settled and content with that. That's generally speaking, but I feel like it's definitely true in my case. But like, I look back at the days when I was, teen, or, when I had a single period, mid-20s, and it's tiring to make sure that you're ticking all these boxes before you let someone see you. It is exhausting. And like, you look back and you think, or even if you're in it now, like, what can you do in your life to create ease, and to create peace? Like,
Mm.
so if that is tiring that you're doing, flick that person. That's not your person.
Amen.
Like, just get rid of it and,
In the bin.
free yourself up. Like, and that's a very retrospective comment from someone who has, been in those experiences where but if you are going through that now, I don't know, like, have a deep think. Is this sustainable? Are you going to be able to sustain this for your entire life? Because if it's not, if you don't want to be doing it, don't do it.
No. And, you know, like I look back, I was single a lot in my 20s. And, you know, when I was in maybe relationships, they weren't great, but I was really presenting such a specific version and
Yeah.
wanting to be not my full self, because I was like, oh, I can't be my full self. Like, that won't be accepted. That's not okay. That's not enough. But I attracted the wrong people, the wrong friends,
Yeah.
especially the romantic partners, dating experiences. And it was exhausting,
Mm.
absolutely exhausting, presenting one version and
Yeah.
not. And, you know, women especially, we're so dynamic and multifaceted.
Mm.
And, you know, we should really celebrate all parts. That's what makes us interesting and dynamic. And the more that we connect to that, the better. And the more we feel ease. And ease is, like, I think, one of the best metrics that we want to feel in
Yeah.
everything.
So, and this is a hard question, I feel, but to finish up, with women feeling their best selves, and then with the pressure from, let's talk about the male gaze. So I feel like if you've got your boobs out, if you've got a short skirt, if you're wearing a lot of makeup, I'm not saying that, like, I think in a lot of, maybe that's, how do I put this polite? Like, I'm trying to think of how to say this. I feel like women are allowed to do all of that and to feel, to dress sexy and to go out. I don't feel like that is never an invitation from the other side, or is it even a hint of anything? But there's so much blame, like, even in the workforce. Like, I've heard, lots of stories where people, like, women are said, do you mind just toning it down? Like, do you mind wearing longer skirts? Do you mind, like, just rechecking this? And it's hard because that's her body. She should, sure, there are, like, appropriate ways to dress in certain contexts, totally. However, I feel like there's a lot of rules around how females are allowed to dress when it comes to exposing parts of their body. And that's a pressure in itself, because you should be able to dress however you like, but it usually is the catalyst for something, a comment made, or, if anything negative was to happen, like a sexual assault, like, oh, she was dressed this way, she was being promiscuous because her boobs are out, she was, she put the invitation out there, what was I to do, kind of thing. That's a really fine line. But when it comes to women who want to dress in a way that is perceived sexy, should they be allowed to? Like, of course they should, but what is your viewpoint on that?
Oh,
It's a really hard question. I feel like society is still not sure on where it sits.
that's the thing, right? Like, and, you know, I think this reminds me of when I was growing up. Like, you're probably similar. Like, we grew up with, like, Spice Girls and even Beyonce and, like, there was female Power Rangers. And so we saw this empowerment, but then we got out into the world and we're like, oh, it's not safe. We actually aren't empowered. We are seen less than. Oh, we actually shouldn't dress sexy. We grew up at a really interesting time. Like it's great because we did get those messages, but then I remember going out into the world and being like really naive. And being really kind of shocked and, thinking like maybe don't dress too, like really living in fear so often. And, I worked in the dance industry and it's brutal because, your men really abuse their power and they're like, well, you're dressed this way. And, that happens all the time. But for me, I found I would dress in a certain way as a power. Like, it would often, which is weird, would get me better jobs maybe, or I would be, it just would give me an edge to dress in a very specific way. But what I think really needs to happen is males need to be educated. We understand this issue to death. We are fucking tired. We are exhausted. We're over living in fear. Like, I can't imagine not walking to my car at night feeling safe. Like, my boyfriend often jokes like, oh, you're so jumpy. And it's like, yeah, I'm a woman. I live in fucking fear all the time. So I think what needs to happen, women fucking understand this. Men need to be educated. And we're probably really far from a solution, but they need positive role models. They need to understand, they just need to learn the lessons that the way we dress is not an invitation and a woman can dress however she wants and, you don't need to make a comment. But I think really it's men, we need to nurture men. Yes, we blame them all the time, but I think we need to nurture them and inspire them to choose differently.
Yeah, totally.
Because women are exhausted. We get the fucking issue and we don't want to talk about it anymore. We don't want to live like that. And, sometimes I even pull back with what I wear because I think I'm going to a hostile environment, even say a dance event. There would be times I'd be like, oh, I'm actually going to change because I don't necessarily trust the people in the environment. So it's protection, but I don't want to do that. Like for me, I really want to dress. Like today I'm wearing a sheer top. Like I'm safe. I'm in my home. I'm so safe.
Yeah.
Going out to certain settings and even like older men, like say family, friends, like thinking, oh, but that's sexy. It's like that makes me uncomfortable. But I think, being braver to speak out, like I find often we get very, we almost lose our voice because that's what we're being taught. Like I have done that for such a long time and I'm really working on reclaiming that. But, saying, hey, that doesn't make me that makes me uncomfortable. And, they might not respond well.
Totally. And that's such a good point as well about choosing what to wear. I feel like clothes is such a it can be an empowering thing. If you dress the way that you feel the most confident, you're probably in the best position to stand up for yourself, So if you're dressed in a way to attract a male and you think that that's, wearing less or shorter is better, and you're doing that and you're feeling really uncomfortable, but you think it'll make you look better, then you're not going to be in a very good mindset to really stand up for yourself when you need to. So it's such a dress the way that makes you feel really strong. And then I'm sure you're, hopefully better equipped to handle yourself should you need to. But it's so funny you said that about the comment about being jumpy at night, because someone said, I don't know why, but I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, when I do a podcast or a Zoom call with a client or anything, I will often put on earrings, I'll get a ring light, all the things. If ever it's a male client, I will look my dowdiest. I've never even thought about it, but I would never get a ring light. I would never put lipstick on. And it's not even a conscious thought. It's a total subconscious thing, but I feel like when I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's probably because I don't want to draw attention to myself or look like I'm trying to be flirtatious, which is ridiculous, but it's such a subconscious move and I do it every single time. So I'm like, next Zoom call, I'm going to I don't know, put lipstick on or put earrings on and just, I probably won't, to be honest, but it is funny how we're so, that is so ingrained in us to,
It is.
not
And you
make
should
like almost make ourselves more invisible just in case. So sad, but I never
always.
realized I did that until last week when someone brought it up. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's something we really do to protect ourselves. We don't even know, but you should
Mm.
definitely try it, see how you feel, see if there is any reaction, and just kind of like collect the data because
Yeah,
it is so interesting. And, I think I am the same too. Like if it's a different kind of audience. I'm
yeah.
not often having conversations with men. I work and do a lot of female dominated spaces, but, it definitely does play on your mind.
Oh my God, it totally does. Even stuff like going to a spin class, and
Hmm.
most of the trainers are women, but there are some men. And
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm wearing a crop that's like lower or like more booby, I feel that. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just wear my t-shirt today. It's like a snap decision. Or I don't even think about it and the t-shirt stays on because it's like a sign. It's this weird thing that we all are very, I don't know, it's crazy.
It is. Yeah, I taught a class, a spin class, and it wasn't my normal class I was covering. I was kind of the last resort for an early morning class, and there was more males. And for me, a lot of the people who are drawn to my classes are like women. Um, and I was really like, oh, I'm going to wear a hat, and I might kind of change. And I definitely changed up my music, but it was interesting the way it affected the way I dressed because I was like, oh, there are more men. I have to,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing. It really just, and it's often us adjusting and not them. But
Yeah.
it's just missing education,
Mm.
really, and conversation.
Yeah, there's such a divide. Yesterday I was driving to some, I don't know, sports class at the crack of dawn, and there was like, it was pitch black early morning. And there was this guy and he pulled over and he was crossing the road. And I remember thinking, I looked at him and I was like, wow, that's like how nice for him in the middle of the like
Yeah,
pitch black for him to just cruise across. I bet he has no fear. Whereas if that was you or
yeah.
I would be like, I probably wouldn't be there at that time of day.
No,
There's
I
no
wouldn't.
way I'd be like crossing such a busy road in the dark. But
Mm-mm.
this guy is just no care in the world because there is no care in the world for him because he's not in danger. And it's like,
Like,
it's crazy. It's just such a different world for us.
it is. And I do hope it changes and it shifts. And the more that, we're definitely at, I feel, a breaking point, with all of this.
Mm,
But I really do hope it changes because yeah, I don't
mm.
think it's not really sustainable and we shouldn't have to live in fear.
Yeah, and you said it so well before. Like a lot of, I think, what women feel as if they have to do every day is present. Like they have to go out into the
Mm.
world and act and put on that
Yep.
facade and become that person. And that is, like we said, it's such an exhausting way to live, and it's not going to change anytime soon. But I feel like it'll only really start to change if we make it easier for ourselves. So if we go out
Yeah.
into the world and don't present and see what that looks like and then try and
Yeah.
create momentum and make that lifestyle perpetuate more. But it's like that's a really fucking scary thing to do, but it is something I think that's on all of us, but it is like we're all, I mean, not all of us, but a lot of us in many different situations, it's an act, to an extent. Even
Yeah.
dropping the kids off to school sometimes if I'm running late for like, even if it's a podcast, a Pilates class, something else, I don't want to look like the mum who's running away from her kids. So I make myself late and I sit there and I do the puzzles, stressing in my head. Then I'm like, all these other parents are running out trying to, why do I feel like I have to look, I know I'm a good parent. So why do I care what, I love all these people, but why do I care what they think so much? And again, it's just an act. And I'm sitting there stressing out and putting myself, like doing myself a disservice for no reason. Because the thing is no one is looking at me thinking you're a bad mum. It's all in my head.
And exactly, like, you're a good mom. And that's the
Yeah.
whole thing. It's like, do you go home and you're like, I'm good. I'm good with myself. I'm a good person.
Mm.
Like, I'm happy. I'm okay with this and all of this, And for me, I'm very lucky, but I really have been intentional. Like, I only have relationships. I do work from home. I work at a spin club. I really do things where I can be authentic and it is safe to be me. and I can bring all of me. But I've worked really hard. Like when I used to have, I guess, more, not necessarily corporate, but more like, I don't know, reception or like linear boxy jobs, which is not me. Like some people thrive in that environment. I do not. I feel like I had to suppress myself. I couldn't be me, in every way. And that it kind of doesn't make you happy. It kills your soul. It kills your joy.
Yeah.
So how can you have the relationships go? Maybe you need a certain career, but maybe you have that spin class you go to, or you have that Pilates class or yoga. Like we're just about having more relationships, more spaces where you can just be you and it isn't presentation. It's like I can be who I am in this space.
I think that's probably why having a shower is so freeing, because you are washing all the shit away, metaphorical shit. You're just washing it all away and you're back to yourself.
Yes.
That's probably why we all love it so much, because it's exactly that. It's just you're stripping yourself right back to how, you came into this world, and it is just you at your most bare, vulnerable state. And that is when we feel most relaxed. So we should look at that and be like, how do we make that feeling last? I'm not saying go out in the world and be naked. Do it if you please. But how do we make that feeling of just pure peace, ease, and acceptance just last? It's a tricky one.
Exactly. I know. We just need it to be like constant shower to live our day, and would be good.
Yeah. I need to start doing my podcast from the shower.
From the shower. Literally. I'm going to start coaching from my shower.
Oh my God. We'd all be so inspired. Hannah, you've been such a gift. Your energy is amazing. And I think for someone so young to be so confident, and like, I just love it so much, because I feel like our age group at the moment is so I don't know, like we're so hard on ourselves, all the time. And I'm sure you have days like that as well. Absolutely. But to see someone in that sort of bracket just absolutely thriving on, being genuine and so happy in your own skin, it's really nice. Peer to peer, I look at you with such admiration.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. I received that. I'm so grateful for you to share that with me. And I loved this conversation. I think it's so important to have these conversations. I think definitely our age group, it's such a weird place to be.
Yeah.
We look at the young girls and we're like, oh my God, they're doing all this. And then the older generation, we're just in this weird space, and we've experienced so many different things. We experience, which I think is an amazing place to be pre-social media. But now we're also thrown into that. There's so much. But thank you for having me. I'm so inspired by what you do, and it's so amazing that you are having these conversations with different women. It's so important.
Thank you, lovely. Well, I will link all of your socials and whatever else, so everyone can find you. And if anyone is in Perth, absolutely go and have a spin cycle with you, because I can only imagine the joy that you would bring to so many people, men or women, everyone is included. But thank you so much for sharing your time, and you've been an absolute ray of sunshine.
Oh, thank you, Tori. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.